Moronic.
Thank you, Your Honor. In the matter of State of Ohio versus Jesse Maslanka, case number 24CR001282. The defendant is present in court with defense counsel Mayor Catherine Corrigan. We are here for purposes of a sentencing hearing. We were previously in court on April 21st, 2025, where the defendant pled guilty to count 1, possession of cocaine, a felony of the 5th degree, in violation of revised code section 2925.11A with an attached forfeiture specification and renumbered count 2, operating a vehicle under the influence of alcohol, drug abuse, or a combination of them, misdemeanor of the 1st degree in violation of revised code section 4511.19A1A. The defendant was found guilty. The court ordered a pre-sentence investigation and report and a drug and alcohol evaluation. The state has had the opportunity to review these reports and is prepared to proceed with sentencing. Thank you.
Ms. Corrigan.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. At this juncture, we would ask that the court adopt the agreed recommended sentence of a community control sanction. Your Honor, regarding the count 2, the operating the vehicle under the influence, he's obviously served approximately 30 days at this point. So I think that the mandatory jail time for that has been satisfied. Your Honor, we would ask that you take into account how forthcoming Mr. Maslanka was at the court. When we were before the court, for the purposes of the plea, he let the court know he would be positive for cocaine. When he did report as directed to the adult probation department, he knew he was going to be taken into custody. He expected to be taken into custody the day we were here for the plea. He has sat in the county jail for approximately 30 days at this point. Your Honor, his new haircut is not for any political reasons. It's simply to maintain cleanliness in the jail. He thought it would be easier than having it in his face. Your Honor, he's been through a lot in this last 30 days. The toilet in his cell was clogged. Ultimately, they had to unclog it using their hands, not even a plunger. And I think that that experience in particular, if the court does believe in the concept of scared straight, scares Mr. Maslanka straight. He has absolutely no intention of finding himself in this situation moving forward. He has been clean during his time in the county jail. Your Honor, his longtime life partner is in the courtroom today too. She also has in the past struggled with addiction. However, since Mr. Maslanka's incarceration, she too has found herself working on her sobriety. I think together they would like to get and maintain sobriety and move forward as productive members of society. And I think with each other to lean on, this couple can so do. Your Honor, we would ask that you take all of that into account and impose a community control sanction. I would also like for the court to know that Mr. Maslanka is an arborist, and he does, well, he didn't have his boss's phone numbers memorized, so he hasn't been able to be in contact with them while in the county jail. He anticipates they knew he was coming in, they knew he was getting arrested, that he will be welcomed back, and I think it is probably their busy season. So I think he has gainful employment to return to. With all of that, Your Honor, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Maslanka, what do you want to tell me?
I learned a lot from this experience, Judge. I no longer want to play with my freedom. Drugs just isn't worth it. It's my first time incarcerated, and I definitely am not going to do anything to come back, and I apologize, Judge.
So how long have you been playing around with these drugs?
It's been a couple years, sir.
A couple? What do you mean a couple? Because it seems...
About four years.
Why did you start?
A bad breakup with my longtime high school sweetheart. I went downhill after that, but that's the last thing that I have to say that I'm completely over that situation. I was heartbroken, and now I found somebody else that's very good. Pretty good.
So you've only been using drugs for a few years?
Yes, sir.
What kind of drugs?
Just cocaine.
What else?
I smoked pot a little bit, but it wasn't my drug of choice. My drug of choice was cocaine, but Judge.
Well, how long did you smoke pot?
Not very often, not very long. Here and there, I never really bought. I mean, I played with it when I was a child, maybe 13 years old.
For how long?
It's until I was incarcerated, but not like an
All right,
everyday.
so that marijuana is a drug, right?
I'm not, right now I'm kind of uncertain because
Well, it is.
Okay.
It is, okay. It's a drug. There may have been a bad decision to legalize it, but it's still a drug,
right.
okay? So, when your history indicates "24 years ago, a marijuana charge in Cleveland."
Yeah.
Domestic violence in Berea. Another, no, the same one. What was that one all about?
The domestic violence.
Yeah, in 2012.
Me and my kid's mom, we were both raging alcoholics, and she had jumped out her window while I was asleep on the couch and got in her car, got stuck in the neighbor's yard with the windows,
Okay.
with one of the cars with the headlights stay on. And the cops drove by in Olmsted Township, and they went and investigated, and she said that I was beating her and she needed to get away. And then they arrested me.
Okay, so that was reduced to a disorderly conduct, which tells me that that's probably actually what happened, okay? Then we have this protection order issue in 21. What's that all about?
Well, after the breakup, I had moved to California. My dream was to climb the tallest trees in the world. Then my dad got sick with cancer and called me back. So when I came back, I stopped at a gas station, not knowing that she was there working at that gas station.
Who was there?
Kristen Christopherson. the
Okay,
one-
when did she get a protection order against you?
I'm uncertain because I was in California. I'd moved.
So while you were gone, a protection order was issued?
Yes, sir.
When did you move to California?
I don't remember the exact date due to a lot of head injuries.
Okay. Head injuries from what?
I got run over by a car when I was really young. I was in a coma. I fell down some stairs and I had 20 staples. I've been hit by a couple of cars. I used to race dirt bikes and had a lot of concussions.
Okay. So what happened here on September 25th of last year?
My car, I had it on a trailer, and it was at work. It was the work trailer, and we pulled the trailer from the street and made an immediate. It was on a corner street. We made a left, so that way I could pull my car off of the trailer, and I could throw my four-ways on and block traffic, so that way we could load a machine onto the trailer without getting run over by a car.
How long had your car been on the trailer?
The car's on the trailer the whole day
Why was it on the trailer?
because I was going to have the mechanic at the shop work on it.
Okay. So you were, whose truck was pulling the trailer?
It was Tree Service Now's truck.
Okay. So,
The mechanic worked for Tree Service Now.
all right, so so you were driving the truck?
No, I was picked up. The guy had picked me up. I loaded the car up that day
Where? Where did you load the car?
at Chagrin, where I live.
Okay. And then you were in the truck?
I was a passenger in the truck, and they drove me to the job site because we
The
had
job site was in Kirtland?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what happened at the job site?
Well, I pulled the car off of the trailer to block the traffic from running us over, you know. Then we loaded the machine on there, and I made an
Where was the machine?
the machine I was using inside the yard.
I know, but how did the machine get to the yard?
Well, we loaded it there. They brought it to the job site the previous day.
Okay.
So we had the trailer open, so I thought since it was open, he could just pick me up in the morning.
So you were using your car to block traffic?
Yeah, because I was going to pull it into the client's driveway, so that way I could come back after I drop off the
Okay.
drop off the machine.
So what work were you doing that day?
Tree work,
And I know, but what exactly were you doing?
removing trees.
What were you doing specifically?
That's what I do.
I know that, but were you operating the machinery? Were you
Yes,
climbing the
yes,
tree,
yes.
or what?
Yes, I
Tell
was
me
op-
what you were doing.
I was operating the machine.
Okay, what kind of machine was it?
It's a CMC 73. It's a lift
Okay,
that goes through a 36-inch gate.
all right. When did you do the cocaine that day?
I did the cocaine in the morning time.
Why, if you're a tree worker, then how do you do that when you're high?
The cocaine didn't really, from my perspective of the drug, it didn't really make me like high as alter my impaired. It more woke me up the way I do it, because I snorted it. I didn't do any, you know what I mean? 'Cause
Okay.
when I snorted it, it wakes you up, but that was from my perspective.
It wakes you up for how long?
About an hour or
And
so.
then what? What do you do after that?
If, do some more, I guess.
Okay, so you gotta keep doing it to stay awake?
No.
Or keep alert? or
No,
what?
it wasn't something to grasp a hold of to make things feel better from the breakup. It's how that was, and then I let it get out of control.
So you couldn't control it?
At that time, yes.
Well, at what time could you control it? Because you were still doing it.
Right. If
I
the
mean,
drug,
when you came to court, you tested positive. So when in advance of that court date did you last use it? How many days before you came here? Was it that day?
yeah, it was that day.
Why would you do that? If you knew you were coming here, why would you do it?
It was, it's the sickness. It's.
Okay,
It was hard for me at that point in time to grasp control over it because I haven't went more than 24 hours from using it.
all right. Now, you weren't arrested that day, right?
Yes, I was.
You were arrested that day?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It doesn't seem like he was arrested that day. Because I have an April 21st positive.
I have a lot of head injuries. It's hard
No,
for me
no,
to.
no, let me, I have April 21 is the day we were here. You weren't arrested that day. Okay, hold on, let me finish.
Okay.
Let me finish. And then I'll let you talk. A warrant went out on the 24th, 3 days later, because you tested positive. You came back here May 2nd for your interview, were tested, and you tested positive again, okay?
Yes, sir.
So that's the sequence here. So you just kept on using it after you were here, until you got arrested on May 2nd, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How does it mix with the, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I believe he was arrested and made bond to Judge Coronaccio, and then, because then I was involved almost immediately.
No, I'm just talking about when he was here, when he pled guilty.
Yes, that's correct.
You told me, or he said, that he was gonna test positive, and I said, well, see what the test shows. He went over, tested, we didn't get the results instantly. We got the results, I put the warrant out 3 days later. He was out, he came back on May 2nd for the interview and tested again, he was positive again.
Yes.
So that's the sequence we're talking about here. So had you been using every day since you were here?
I don't understand the question.
The question is, on April 21st, you were here, you went over to probation, they had you do a urine sample, which tested positive, but you were still out, you weren't in jail,
Right.
okay? From April 21st going forward to May 2nd, when you were here again, were you using cocaine every day?
Yes.
Okay. How does the use of alcohol affect you with the use of cocaine?
I don't drink alcohol
Since when?
since it's been a while now.
Well, didn't you talk about way back on this domestic violence, it turned into disorderly conduct, that you and the woman were
Yes.
both alcoholics?
Yeah, we were both raging alcoholics, yeah.
Okay, when did you stop using alcohol?
It was shortly after the breakup.
Which was when?
I can't remember, I can't recall the exact.
How many years ago? 10 years ago?
Oh, at least at least three.
3 years ago?
Yeah,
Okay, so you just stopped using, you stopped drinking.
due to heart issues. When I got run over by a car, it collapsed the artery coming off my heart that supplies the lower blood
Okay,
flow.
how does the use of cocaine affect your heart issues?
It doesn't. I mean, it didn't. To me, it didn't. But it did end up in the hospital a few times. Yes,
Because of what?
I did too much.
Okay, so that does affect your
Yeah.
body, okay? So you had the ability to just stop drinking, is what you're telling me,
Yes,
3
sir.
years ago. Okay. Why don't you have the ability to stop using cocaine? Because you don't, right?
I couldn't. I can't answer that question, sir.
Well, you can't, right?
Yeah.
You can't help yourself, right?
I can now.
Well, you
because-
can now because you've been in jail, so you have no choice.
Well, having the 30 days away from it definitely helps.
Uh-huh.
Definitely helped. Let me tell you, because before, without having to take a day off of it, I had no power. But having 30 days off of it and seeing exactly what's in store for me if I continue, like that's definitely showing me the way.
Because you don't have any felonies before this, right?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. What mental health treatment have you had in the past?
I know I had a counseling through.
How long ago?
Had to have been a year, 2 years ago.
Okay. And you stopped doing it after that?
They cleared me. They told me I didn't have to come back anymore.
Where did you have that done?
Signature Health,
Okay. Was it in person or on the computer?
in person.
Okay. All right, anything else you want to tell me?
I apologize for my immaturity, and I thank you for even for this 30 days away from the drug. I was struggling, and I learned my lesson, Your Honor. You won't have a problem out of me.
Well, the lesson's not the issue, that's part of it, okay? But the question becomes, how do you not revert back to where you were? Because it's been a long battle for you between alcohol and cocaine, right? I mean, all you did was replace the alcohol with cocaine,
Right.
Okay. All right, Ms. Saronic?
Thank you, Your Honor. Pursuant to the plea agreement, the state did agree to join in a recommendation for community control sanctions. It is very apparent that the defendant does have a cocaine problem, and so I do believe that coupled with his lack of felony convictions warrants a community control sanction with drug and alcohol treatment. Thank you.
What's the mandatory fine on the OVI? Do you know offhand?
It is $375.
It's been 375 for like ever, but I think it might have just gone up. I know they
think it
just
did.
changed within the last like 8 weeks.
Oh, God.
So I'm sorry, Jeff.
Let me, if you give me one moment, I will look
But
it
if
up.
it went up, arguably, and he picked this case up in September, it would still be 375 for him, I think.
Why don't you have a license right now?
Well, they took him because I didn't take the field sobriety test, Your Honor.
Is that the only reason you don't have a license?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I have a CDL license.
CDL?
Yeah.
He meant CDL.
Okay. And the license suspension is a 1 year, correct? 1 to 3?
Yes.
It is Yeah, the new fine is $565
Okay, but it was $375?
at the time, yes.
Okay. All right, I reviewed the pre-sentence report and the drug and alcohol evaluation. And the letter I got from your mother. Listen to Mr. and Ms. Lanka, listen to counsel. I considered all the provisions in 29, 29, 11, 12, and 13. I'll place you on community control for 3 years. With regard to count 1, you're going to serve 76 days in jail with credit for 36. The last 30 days you'll be in the jail treatment program. Complete it and follow the recommendations. You're to have no drugs or alcohol, and you'll be screened. You're to attend at least 4 AA or NA meetings a week and get a sponsor. You're to go to only 1 doctor and 1 dentist and 1 pharmacy. If you are prescribed any medication, you're to take your medication as prescribed and sign releases so probation can get your records. When your suspensions are up, you're going to get a valid driver's license, maintain full employment. I want you to get a mental health evaluation and follow recommendations and pay the costs and supervision fees. On count 2, 30 days in jail with credit for 30, $375 fine, a 1-year license suspension retroactive to September 25 of last year. So your suspension will be up in a few months, and you can begin getting the process of getting your license. Ms. Warren, any other terms with regard to the felony?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Do you understand all the terms?
Yes, sir.
Any question about the terms?
No, sir.
Okay. If you don't comply with the terms, then the state will file a motion to terminate your community control, and if I find you violated, then you're looking at 12 months in prison. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I'm sending you to the jail treatment program because between alcohol and cocaine, you've got a long-standing, really uninterrupted problem that has been controlling you. And somebody with your medical condition that you described to me, I don't know how you made it this far doing that coke every day. And a lot of it, right? I don't know how you didn't fall out of a tree using that shit every day.
No.
So this is if what you're telling me is correct, then you want to get through this, and you can get through it, but at least have the opportunity to learn how to cope with this stuff, because doing coke every day wasn't doing it.
No.
All it did was put off the inevitable. Anything else, Ms. Horonic?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Ms. Corrigan?
No, thank you so much, Judge.
Okay, we're adjourned.